Yes, but I never thought, I never considered it moving here. I still kind of think of it as a yearly situation. I think it would be too scary to think I've moved here, this is it.
If you were going back to the States to live, where would you go?
A university town. That's the one thing I kind of miss here is the quirky university towns and the small presses and of the United States. So I would love to live in a university town and maybe teach creative writing at a university.
Oh, great.
I wanted to meet other writers, and I really wanted to just make contact with people who love to read and love to talk about books and cinema. And so I started my own writing workshop, which was in the upstairs library at Shakespeare and Company. And Sylvia Whitman was just lovely and so generous in offering that space. I did that for five years. I think people dream of living in Paris, and I think part of that dream is to leave everything behind. Family problems or work, things like that, and in fact you just bring it along with you. I do love the markets. I do love that they will pick out just the right avocado for you that evening.
What is important to writers, and when you're writing, like you said, they're choosing the right avocado for that day, and the attention to detail. Those are two things that are really important in writing. What do you notice the impact of being in Paris on your writing?
French people really take a lot of time to choose the right word. For example, if I met someone 2 minutes ago, I would say my friend Joe. But a French person would say my acquaintance Joe. And there would be a whole line of words to express a relationship, whereas in the United States, we're just a lot of times the people I know anyway are very informal, and sometimes we don't really consider our words, and here it really is important. But for a writer, just paying attention is really great. For example, the word for kite is a cerf-volant, running deer. So when you learn a foreign language, you learn not just the words, but phrases and different images. And I think that really can impact a writer, and I think that we learn different images and different ways of seeing things literally, and I think that's so important for writers. I always felt like an outsider here, and I think that's a good thing, because I think that you can step back, you can see things a little more clearly about the French culture and about your own culture, and I think that you just take things maybe more with a grain of salt. So I think that's really, really helpful. In my novel, Moonlight in Odessa, people who read it think that I'm the character named Jane, a very gung-ho young American. And in fact, I always think of myself as Daria, the main character who goes to America and is discovering America, because every time I go back, I feel like I'm discovering something. I really feel like I'm in the middle of things here. I really feel like, we're 2.5 hours away from London. We're just a few hours away from Germany with the TGV. There's so many wonderful places to visit in France. When I lived in Montana, I could ride the train for 8 hours and not leave the state. And I really like being around so many foreign languages and so many foreign cultures. Paris is such a cosmopolitan city. My novel is called Moonlight in Odessa, and it is about an email order bride who travels from Odessa, Ukraine, the former humor capital of the Soviet Union, and she travels to America, and she really thinks that she's going to find the American dream and live happily ever after, and she just finds that she goes from one set of troubles to another as she discovers America. When I was studying Russian at the University of Montana, I met guys who were looking for a Russian bride, and I translated some of the letters and was really surprised because the men were very romantic. Do you enjoy romantic walks? Do you like going to movies? And the women were asking very pragmatic questions like, can you take care of me and my son?
How did you get the idea to write a novel about this?
After I graduated from the University of Montana, I actually went to Odessa, Ukraine, and lived there for 2 years. I worked as a Soros Fellow. So I actually met two women, two of my very good friends, met Western men, married men they didn't know. When I got back to the States, I visited them, and it was just very hard to see them with their husbands. It wasn't at all what women expected, and I think it wasn't at all what the men expected. And so it wasn't so much a question of dishonesty, it was just that they both had such different sets of expectations. It depends on how they're run and who runs them. For some of them, it's an international Match.com, and it's fine, but for some of them, they say that these women are subservient. Some of them say that these women would love love to cook and clean, unlike demanding American women. So it really depends on how they present the women. I really hope that it will make people think about this, because 10,000 women enter the United States each year. With this novel, I really wanted to show the entire spectrum. I wanted to show a relationship where it could work out, and then I wanted to show a disaster, and everything in between. So it's set in Odessa, and the people have such incredible spirit, and they can laugh at just about anything. It's really amazing. And
so what advice do you have for budding novelists, and what advice do you have for someone whose dream it is to move to Paris?
For a budding novelist, I would just say never give up, and I would say get out and have your own great experiences. Someone who wants to come to Paris, I would say find a job here, because it's really expensive, or some kind of lodging or some kind of exchange, so that when you come here you can feel secure. I see so many people who come here and maybe they can't really fully appreciate it because they're worried about money, or they're worried about where they're going to live.
What's next on your writing horizon?
I'm working on 2 more novels set in Ukraine, but I don't know if anyone other than my mom will ever read them. I'm enjoying working on them. I hope that people will enjoy Moonlight in Odessa, and that they'll be interested in the other 2, but I know that there are no guarantees either. So.